It's Black History Month 2022, and every Saturday for the whole month, I'm going to roll out a new video. This is video number 2. The impact sexual stereotypes have on Black women is damaging. It's been damaging. We know that stereotypes are based on ideas about a particular group of people, and that everyone within that group shares those same characteristics, despite the reality being this is often far from fact. Most stereotypes are negative and do nothing more than create the wrong perception of an individual. Stereotypes can prevent progression and just generally put the person being stereotyped in a very disadvantaged position. So when we consider the countless stereotypes of Black women that are perpetuated, it's definitely a cause for concern. The views held about Black women and girls are definitely rooted in racism. It's so deep because how can it be common knowledge that young Black girls are viewed as hypersexual from a ridiculously young age? This creepily inaccurate narrative also presumes Black women and girls are somewhat more sexually advanced and as a result are less likely to be believed when reporting on sexual assault, for example. And for the naysayers, there are stats that back this. This is not me imagining stuff. This is real. Sex and sexuality is a social construct in that society pretty much dictates what should be deemed as right and acceptable, and equally what is not. So you can imagine both the shock and infatuation European people felt when they discovered Africa. Their ideas and societal constructs would have been literally shat on. Picture the fascination when faced with beautiful African people dancing in ways that involve gyration of body parts and moving to hard beats and rhythms and shaking they thang and vibing in a way that they never had the inclination to even dream of. Imagine the uncontrollable sexual urges European men and women would have felt towards the semi-naked brown and Black bodies before their eyes, majestic in all their glory, exotic and regal, captivating and breathtaking. You can imagine how the seemingly suggestive dancing, together with the small clothing, because we are in Africa and it's hot, you could see how it would have done bits, serious bits. In fact, we know it did, because it was documented in many a European man's travel journey that Black women are hot ladies, constantly planning and scheming on how to get a lover. Yeah, exactly. A huge presumption based on first impressions, a stereotype. Actually, it's this initial stereotype that gave way to the stereotype that Black women are sexually promiscuous that still holds weight today. And can I just also mention, and yep, I'm taking it there, slavery. These stereotypes and ideas were actually used as justification to later commit the most heinous of sexual crimes on enslaved Black women. You know what I'm talking about. I don't need to spell it out. Yeah, that went down because apparently Black women had such insatiable sexual appetites. Being taken by their owners whenever was actually okay. Like, are we digesting this? And then to add fuel to the already raging fire, because women slaves, young and old, were always forced to engage in sex, there was a lot of pregnancy around. Ironically, a pregnant slave somehow reinforced this idea that they were sexually promiscuous, even though it was well known they had absolutely no say in whether they were getting it or not. And then to throw even more contradiction into the mix, slave owners were actually encouraged to impregnate their female slaves because it boosted the inventory. Baby slaves will eventually grow up to be adult slaves, and apparently it made sense. But there's more. Because slaves were often put up for sale, semi-naked or fully naked, you can only imagine the stark contrast this created between how white women were presented and how Black women were presented. White women were always fully clothed, head to toe, sometimes lots of layers, whilst these Black slaves were just out there with everything available to see. So this also went some way to reinforcing the sexually promiscuous perception of the Black woman, despite slaves having absolutely no say in the matter. Contradictive bollocks. Indeed, there's a lot. Even after slavery was abolished, the sexual victimization of Black women and girls did not end there. Oh no, that would have been too easy, right? The portrayal of Black women was one of exaggerated lips, tits and ass. Pretty much what your average Insta chick is striving for online. That was the portrayal. And yeah, even though a lot of Black women do have big bodies with big assets, the stereotype that this was standard and this meant sex was why it was such a dangerous portrayal. I mean, heck, you've only got to look at memorabilia from the 1900s to see all this shit. Like postcards and pictures and drawings, it was all there. Real exaggerated, out of order shit. I could honestly go on and on and on about all of this. You know, the Jezebel stereotype, the sapphire stereotype, and then in contrast, the mammy stereotype, and why these particular stereotypes have set the stage for the stereotypes Black women still have to contend with today. But that's another video. That's a whole other video. Trust me. But one thing I will say before I wrap this up, there is definitely more to Black women than sex. On God, yes, the Black woman is sexy. She is passion. She is heaven. But there is more than sex. So much more. And honestly, understanding why these stereotypes are so played out and must be challenged is necessary. So very, very necessary.